So today I'm going to share with you 10 tips to finish writing your first draft of the novel that you have dreamed of. So the first one is you just have to think about your story, decide who you are as a writer, what type of genre you are going to write about, but loosely just form your ideas loosely because it will change over time. I have never really thought that I'm gonna write a sci-fi fantasy story. I don't know where it came from. As I started writing, that's the genre I actually wrote, like the first draft of my novel. I really had no idea. I don't associate myself as a sci-fi fantasy writer, but that's the story that it came out from me. So that's something to think about. Tip number 2, you decide whether you want to use a computer or a tablet or a physical notebook. The first draft I wrote, I decided to use a physical notebook and a pen because in the past I tried to write a story actually a few times. And I used a computer, and every single time I could not really get into the story. I don't know whether it was because of the story itself or it was because of the device. I really had no idea. When I started using a notebook, this second time, I don't know how many times actually, but it actually got better. I actually finished the whole draft in a notebook. And after that, I transferred what I wrote into my computer. So that was my second draft. I kind of type it out, revise along the way. I already kind of make some notes of like move this thing around or cross some sections out in the physical notebook. So I kind of already revised when I started typing into a computer. And then I revised again. The draft that I have right now, it has been revised for 3 times already. And that's my process, right? So you just have to find your own process. And then coming back to tip number 3, you just have to create your own writing ritual. For me, I write every day, 7 days a week for an hour. My ritual is I wake up in the morning, brush my teeth and everything. Then I made my breakfast, feed my cat, and then make my coffee, and then go to my writing desk. Actually, I wrote on the couch with my coffee. So that's how I do that every single day for an hour. I don't know how many words I'm gonna write. I don't care how many words I wrote. That's the time limit I have, and 1 hour every day, and that's it. Some days I wrote more, some days I wrote less, but that's okay. There are people who also, instead of having a time limit, they do a word limit. Sometimes people will write, they said they're gonna write for 500 words. I tried a 500 words thing, but there were some day I was struggling with writing. Then the 500 word could turn it into like an hour and a half, and sometimes I don't have time for that because of I have other jobs that I have other work that I needed to do. So I just time myself for an hour, and some days I wrote more, some days I wrote less, and that's okay. And tip number 4, start writing. So I might use an analogy of having a glass of water that is full, and if a glass is already full, if you pour any water in it, the water will just spill out, right? It never goes in. So it's like, we already have an idea, but it's already at the top, at like really full. We just need to write it out to let the story out from our head, so you can actually have some more ideas coming up, right? So the same thing, just start writing it. You can always revise it later. Just let it out first. Tip number 5, write every day. So for me, I like to write every day, and it works for me. Some people could not write every day, but that's okay. You can always write like 5 days a week, or 6 days a week, and you one day you take a day off. That's fine. I enjoy writing, so I enjoy doing it every day, and that's just me. And number 6, start small. So, maybe an hour is too much at the beginning. You could always adjust to write small, like in a smaller chunk amount of time, right? So maybe you can say, maybe I'll do half an hour, maybe I'll do 20 minutes, maybe I'll do 10 minutes. So, don't pressure yourself too much. But if you do it consistently, it will, your first draft will come into shape and form pretty quickly too. Tip number 7, be open and flexible in terms of like your storyline. There were times that I wrote my story and then it went into a different direction. And sometimes it happened and I just adjust with what I wrote. If I didn't like it, I always have my own storyline to come back to. So tip number 8, be observant around, when you are going around places. So when I started writing, for some reason, I think my observation skills starting to also, get improved a little bit as well, because I would be walking around, listening to people. I didn't really actively listening to people. I just walk around and I heard someone say something. I just oh, that could be a good line for a character. Or, I walked around somewhere and I look at, the view, the scenes. I've been walking, passing that location for so many times that I haven't really thought of it. And then as I started writing, I starting to oh, this could be a good location for, a character or something like that. So I took a photo and then come back and, describe it. So, you never know. So I always carry a little notebook, and that's actually going into tip number 9 is carry a small notebook. Sometimes you have some ideas or you just have something that you want to jot down, the dialogue earlier that I said, you could just write down that sentence. And tip number 10, try to finish your first draft if you can. I felt so great finishing my first draft of my story. So these are the 10 tips that I want to share with you to start and finish your first draft. See you next time. Thank you.